Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maryam Lemu and with me is
Salatu, Sule.
Today we'll be talking about parenting, and inshallah we'll have a series of episodes where we go into detail on tips on how to be a good parent and an effective parent. The greatest gift you can give a child, which is also an obligation on you, is good upbringing and tarbiyah, focusing on character and values. And I believe there's a hadith to go with that.
Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said that one of the reasons why he was sent as a messenger by Allah is to perfect morals or manners or good character, depending on how one translates it.
Yeah. If you do a really good job as a parent, you will have peace of mind, true happiness, and a happy home, a happy family. So we hope over the next few episodes, we're going to give you some key tips that should help make that job easier. Parenting requires a true partnership. It's not a one-man job. It took two of you to conceive this child, and it takes two to raise them. Sadly, sometimes when our kids start to misbehave, we start the blame game. We start to blame one parent for not doing their job, whereas it's actually a partnership. It takes two of you to raise this child with all these qualities and all these values.
Yeah. The essence of a father and a mother working together to raise a child is that they can complement each other. You'll find that naturally men and women approach issues in a different way. Yeah. So when you have parents working together to raise a child, they can then play off on each other's strengths and cover up each other's weaknesses in their parenting styles. So you might have one parent who is strict, the other who's a bit gentle, and they rub off on each other and help because the child actually needs both approaches. Gentleness, strictness, some loose handling, some firm handling, and that complementary style is very, very effective. Absolutely.
And we do need to live by example. We need to walk the talk as parents. We should realize that we are the role models to them. This is the first couple they're going to see and watch over several years of their youth into adulthood. So we need to make sure we set the right example so they emulate us when they go into the real world and when they become parents themselves one day.
Our expectations of our children as parents should always be in line with our behavior.
Yeah.
It's not right that as a parent you expect one thing from your child, but your behavior says something else. If as a parent you speak disrespectfully to your children, to your spouse, to family members, it would be very difficult to teach your children to be respectful as a matter of course. They are more likely to do what you do than to do what you say. As parents also, we need to learn how to balance a lot of things. Being a parent is a balancing act.
Absolutely.
You have to balance firmness with gentleness, firmness with kindness. Yeah. You also need to balance truth with discretion. Yeah. It's important that you should always be honest, be truthful with your children. At the same time, know how much information to give them in the name of being open, being honest. Yeah. Because for all of us, we have children of different ages. So what a child of 5 should know would naturally be different from what a child of 15 or 25 should know. A parent needs to know how to balance this. Yeah. A parent also needs to know how to balance independence with obedience, where you want to foster independence in your child. You want to teach your child how to express himself, to stand by what he believes in, but you also want him to respect your views, to respect your opinion and listen to you sometimes. There are times when you know your child has to do exactly what you say and not argue about it. Yeah. So you learn how to balance that. Also, I know another challenge many parents have is balancing being a parent and being a friend. Especially as your children grow into their teenage years and you are trying to pull your kids closer to you. Then parents start acting like a friend and forget that they are parents. That they still have to set the tone, set the rules, and then work with their child. So that balancing act is there. Yeah. However, as we keep talking about balancing, not balancing, we need ultimately to foster a sense of self-reliance in our children.
Exactly.
I mean, we're all born with that I can do it all by myself instinct. It's like, no, leave me alone, I'll do it by myself. And for many parents, it's frustrating because you're in a hurry, you want to get the child out of the house very quickly. But the child is there fighting to buckle his shoes and he'll be there the whole day. But if we restrict our children too much, then at the age when we want them to step away from us and stand on their own feet, they'll find it much more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other point you raised with regard to knowing how to balance the relationship between you and your child, make them your friend, but not forgetting first and foremost that you are their parent and you would be responsible for disciplining your child. And it's going to be very hard to discipline a friend if you don't make them understand that there is a difference between your primary role, your first responsibility, which is as a parent, and making sure you raise them to feel that you are there for them, you're supporting them, you're also a companion for them through their journey through life. But with regard to the other example you raised about empowering them, allowing them to try things, it's so important at an early stage. You teach them responsibility. You teach them, as you said, how to tie their shoelace, teach them how to clean up after themselves. Give them a responsibility of making sure that they learn to bathe themselves, because sometimes that's something we take for granted, not knowing they can actually do it. We take the responsibility of taking on all these chores. Kids can help us clean the house at a very early age.
As early as 4.
Exactly. And they love that responsibility that has been given to them, because you show that they're all grown up now. I'm going to give you this responsibility, and it makes them mature into responsible adults. It helps them grow and know that they have certain duties, certain obligations to you as a family member and to society at large. Teach them to read to themselves. I know your son is really good at reading to himself when he's really very young. I think he's about 7 or 8 now.
6.
He's 6, you see. And it's good to read to them, but let them also at a very early age develop that culture of reading to themselves and being responsible.
And they can even read to you on occasion.
Exactly, which is fun. That would be a nice change.
Yeah, which leads me right to our next point. That children shouldn't be given everything they ask for, everything they want.
Absolutely.
Just because you can afford to give it to them doesn't mean they should have it. Exactly. They should learn to earn things.
Absolutely.
They should learn that sometimes a reward follows some action. Otherwise, the reward loses value. So if a child wants some privilege, like to be able to watch TV for an hour or so, you could tie that to some other task around the house, like make sure you clean up your room first before you go watch TV.
Exactly.
While we are still talking about this balancing and getting it right, being able to stay in the middle path, it's important that we know how to exercise some control as a parent, but not to be excessive in how we control our children.
Exactly.
To remember that they have minds of their own.
Absolutely.
Even the toddlers have a mind of their own.
Absolutely.
The teenagers definitely do, let alone the adults. And to respect that mind.
Exactly.
To understand how their minds are developing, what stage they are at, and give that mind some room to grow. We'll talk about that a lot more.
Exactly. You do need to give them the key tools that they require to help them survive in the real world. They have huge responsibilities ahead of them. One day they're going to be mothers, they're going to be wives, they're going to be husbands, they're going to be fathers. These are tremendous roles. So this early foundation laying that we do is so critical to helping them be successful. We may not have had that privilege of being given that opportunity, so we learned on the job, but it is an obligation on us to do all these things. They're going to learn to be leaders, followers, community members, neighbors,
employers,
employees. Every single role they're going to find themselves in, whether they're on top or at the bottom, they fall into a particular category. You need to equip them with these skills so that they can do it well and be useful to society, to have a sense of purpose and direction, not just to exist, but to be useful.
In trying to help our children develop their minds, we must understand that they will make mistakes. They should be allowed to make some mistakes, especially when we are there to intervene, when the mistakes are getting too many or the mistakes may be too costly, and to also give the children some sense of direction, even as we allow them room to roam a little bit, but we keep an eye on them. Sometimes you find in raising our children and trying to be parents, we may go to the extreme in trying to protect them.
Over-controlling.
Excessive control, excessive protection. It's impossible to protect your children from all kinds of sadness.